That's me, back in the days as a student pilot on one of my last solo cross-country flights before my check ride. Shortly after takeoff, to my third leg on that day, this showed up in the cockpit. And this was not the only problem I had to deal with on that flight. Stay on board to see how I did. Welcome, fellow aviation friends. My name is Steffen, I'm a private pilot and aviation enthusiast based in Germany, and I love to share my passion with all of you. But not only my passion is about to share with you today, but in this video I also would like to show you the problems I faced and the mistakes I made. Because in the end we all can learn from that, right? According to the EASA regulations, you have to complete a solo cross-country flight of at least 150 nautical miles with landings on 2 different airports outside of your home base before you can apply for your check ride. And by the way, my pilot friends overseas, let me know in the comments below if the FAA or the TCA have similar rules in place for student pilot requirements. So in my case, I planned a trip of 3 legs with the little Rotax-powered Cessna 150. First landing was planned on an airfield I knew very well from my training. From there, straightforward navigation to a VOR to avoid some busier airspace, changing direction to a second VOR, and the landing on the second field. From there it was supposed to be even easier to fly home on a straight line to the last VOR near my home base and finally landing there. In total, around 200 nautical miles, 3 airfields involved, requirements met. Not a big deal, right? So everything was prepared. It was time for takeoff. The first leg was an easy short VFR flight along the famous German Autobahn.
You can drive, really? Government is off your back in Germany, and you can drive. The man says drive as fast as you want. Is that right?
And yes, really, you can drive as fast as you want when you pass this sign. After 30 minutes in flight, I was entering a left-hand traffic pattern for runway 6, followed by a nice landing. I had to wait at the end of the runway before backtracking runway 6 because of landing traffic. After a short break at the airfield, I did my pre-flight checks again, and shortly after I took off from runway 6 heading northwest. In a good climb, everything looked okay. I did my radio calls saying my intentions to leave the pattern. When something crazy happened to my ears. That sound was terrible. I almost lost my radio communication. Something was wrong, and I tried to figure out the cause of that problem. So even I flew in an airspace which did not require any radio communication at all, that was a serious issue for me. For safety I was in contact with FIS, Flight Information Service, but I couldn't understand anything and I was not sure whether I was readable or not. In such a situation, every pilot must follow the most important principle of aviation. Aviate, navigate, communicate, which gives you the priority of things to do in an unexpected situation. Okay, obviously I still had control over the aircraft and I flew the plane. Check. But let's see how I did on navigation. You can clearly see how massive this problem distracts me from navigating correctly. I mean, my track is a mess, isn't it? Keep in mind, I had only my VFR sectional chart and the VOR radials for navigation. No GPS allowed, because I had to learn the basics. You want to hear it again? Horrible. I tried my best to improve the navigation on the way, despite the terrible noise, and somehow I made it to overfly the VOR exactly. On that way I was trying to figure out the root cause of my radio problem. I tried every settings on my radio. Squelch and volumes up and down, no change at all, and there was no second radio on the plane. But just until I tried something completely different. It was that tiny little power bank which interfered my radio system. I was very relieved as soon as I fixed that problem. But stay tuned, there is more to come.
Oscar Mike, bitte verlassen die Frequenz zum Anflug auf Magdeburg. Oscar Mike, verlassen genehmigt, ciao. Oscar Mike, danke.
The rest of this leg was great. Nice views, no problems navigating to the next airfield, which was Echo Delta Bravo Mike, and I had a good landing there. I quickly did some refueling, paid the landing fees, did the pre-flight checks again, and took off from runway 27 for my last leg of the day. Shortly after takeoff, I was just leaving the pattern. When I grabbed my flight log from the right seat, something unexpected happened. Okay, so what to do? You know, according to the main principle, don't panic, fly the plane first. Check. Next point on the list is to navigate. So where should I go to? I could have turned around and landed the aircraft. I was still very close to the field, but I did not. I continued heading home. Why did I take that risk? When it first showed up, I quickly tried to identify which kind of animal this actually is. My first thought was, it's a bee, not a wasp. A closer look gave me the confidence. And bees are not as aggressive as wasps may be. Furthermore, later on I could see that the bee somehow managed to escape from my cockpit through the openings for outside air in the wings. So it finally simply disappeared. The rest of the flight was great and no further issues came up. Before my last landing at my home base, I had to fly a 360 because of a group of skydivers were about to land. So not a big deal. Overall, this 3-leg 200 nautical mile trip took me about 5 hours in total. It was a great experience, I learned a lot and I couldn't wait until my check ride. So I hope you learned something from my little student pilot story back in the days. Maybe that these small power banks can interfere with your avionics system, especially in older planes. So just throw them away or at least leave them at home. And of course, do the YouTube checklist. Like the video if you like it, consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell to get notified about new videos. And if I hear you saying checklist completed, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.